Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Feldman,
Present.
Glasser, Miller,
Present.
Schneider,
Present.
Powell,
Present.
Stuffler, and Dyke.
Present. Approval of the agenda. Due to some difficulties with the presentation of some of the materials, we are going to pull items number 2 through 5 and the public hearing tonight. We will schedule a public special meeting to address those and the police contract later this month before July 1st. Those are the deletions from tonight's agenda. The addition from tonight's agenda is under open discussion. We have proposed police contract that was placed on your table this evening before the meeting. Do we have any other additions or deletions to tonight's proposed agenda?
So number 10 on the current list is moving to open discussion.
No. Number 10 is identifying what we're talking about in closed session. Open discussion is the actual police township contract, not the union contract.
Okay.
Sorry for not specifying that. Any other questions or additions or deletions to tonight's agenda? Being none, do we have an approval to present the agenda with the amended changes?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Councilmember Schneider, supported by Councilmember Feldman to approve the agenda with the mentioned addendums. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Communications, DDA proposed budget memorandum. I'm not going to read it because it's going to be discussed under item 9 on the agenda. Consent agenda, regular meeting minutes, June 2nd.
There's a couple. So under communications, currently reads Erica Loico read a letter. She did not read the letter. Village President Tim Dyke read the letter from Erica Loico. Those are backwards. So it should read Village President Tim Dyke read a letter sent to him by Erica Loico regarding her concerns. So those need to be swapped back around. Under approval of consent agenda, it was me who moved, but it was Councilmember Miller who seconded. Under regular agenda item, number 1, the 4th paragraph, is Mr. Keller's last name is spelled A-R or is that E-R? I thought it was E-R. Well, if we can just double check the spelling of his name, but the rest of the sentence isn't grammatically correct. It's will submit their request to be appointed to serve on the committee. And then the ending of the sentence should be to be considered, because we need to add the ED, not to be considered at the next meeting. And then I'm not sure again if in the following paragraph Mr. Keller's last name is spelled correctly. Under council manager comment, this doesn't clarify who's making most of these comments. So you could assume from the context that it looks like village manager Curbison made most of these comments, but there was comments not only by village manager Curbison, who went over 11 different topics, but also I know that I made comment. I know that President Pro Tem Steffler made comment. Councilmember Powell made comment. Councilmember Miller made comment. And all council member comments aren't really here. Under number 1, for example, it says the village successfully went through a court process to have a car removed from the property in question. What property? There's zero clarification of what we're referring to here. I do, because I was there, I know what you're referring to, but these meeting minutes are meant to be the written record that reflects what actually took place in the meeting. So if we could add the address to what what Village Manager Gerberson was actually referring to and attribute these comments to him, because it doesn't clarify who's making these comments. We typically mention who does. Number 2, the ADA parking ordinance. In response to public comment, Village Manager Gerberson explained. All those things were explained, but that was myself who said those things. It wasn't Manager Gerberson. I was the one that had pulled up our ordinance and mentioned the lots with 25 spaces or more, and had the commentary back and forth on M53 being MDOT's jurisdiction. I know I also had brought up and requested a status update on the use and maintenance agreement for the lot we purchased from Mr. Francis. I brought up the issue of us needing to revisit the drone policy that we had previously at least initiated. Again, we were having a conversation about whether or not we ever finished it, but that we needed to readdress that. I know President Pro Tem Steffler brought up comments about most recent park board meeting and the upcoming one that's not here. Councilmember Powell wanted to reiterate a request for the capital improvement plan, and asked for a copy of the rate increase for the water. He had additional comments as well about ADA compliance and his support for that. I know Councilmember Miller had comments as well, thanking the residents who attended and spoke on it as well. I think that's about it. There's an awful lot missing and misattributed in the Councilmember Manager comment portion.
Some minutes.
Nothing else?
Mr. Keller's name is spelled correctly.
It is AR? Okay, I wasn't certain.
General fund. Major street fund. Local street fund. Park and recreation fund.
I had a quick question on Parks and Recreation. And I don't know if you know this, Randy. It says operating supplies $18.99, treated ground contact. I don't know if you have an idea of what that is. If you need to look it up and you just want to email me later, that's fine.
All right.
DDA fund. Project St. Clair fund. Sewer fund. Water fund. Equipment fund. Payroll register report. DPW report. Wastewater treatment plant report. News report. SRO report. DDA director report. Financial position report. Clerk treasurer report. If there's no other amendments or concerns, I will entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda.
So moved.
Support.
Motion by President Pro Tem Steffler, supported by Councilmember Miller to approve the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. The motion passes. Now is the time, for public comment for any agenda item. Do we have any public comment on any agenda item tonight? Being none, regular agenda item number 1, Lions Club side-by-side run.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah.
Those that don't know me, I'm Bernie Kalka. I'm representing the Elmont Lions Club today. And we're having a side-by-side run. It's our third one that we're doing for charity fundraiser. It's turned out to be pretty good for us. And right now I found out what days were available with the bells and everything, and it turned out to be October 8th. And we're normally doing our run where we meet at the bells, we go out of town, we hit the first dirt road, and we stay on the dirt roads. So basically, I just wanted to let everyone know when we were doing it, that we were doing it, and if there was any concerns that might pop up as far as if you're going to have construction or some other event going on at that time that we should know of so we can plan around it. Basically, shows the map. You come down, go to General Square, and we leave the village. So we'll be driving around the countryside, going to like Blake's, Seven Ponds Nature Center, and I got to find another stop, and then we come back to the bells. So we register at 8 o'clock, we leave at 9 o'clock, and we come back at 1 o'clock. And this is all on a Sunday. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone was good with this and that there's no problems and we get your blessing.
The 11th, the 18th, or the 8th? Because you said the 8th. This new sheet says the 18th.
18th.
Okay.
Can't promise the construction issue. That may be an impediment. I mean, construction better have started by then on that section of General Square Road. With the East and West St. Clair project is supposed to have begun by then. So there's possibly road construction there. We don't expect that it's going to be shut down. They were intending to do one lane at a time, especially since we were getting started later, since they weren't going to be able to complete this year. But
one lane at a time, it's going to be one way, and we don't know which way that is.
correct. So that is a very real possible impediment to that route, but we can't guarantee it. We're told by the engineers that we're still supposed to be on schedule, that they would have begun construction at that point. Are they still doing surveying at that point?
How far exactly?
October, you'd think they'd be, because they were gonna supposedly have stuff down by the end of November.
But they said Thanksgiving was essentially where they call it the cutoff.
Yeah,
And I remember the last time they were here, I said, so if there's even another week's delay, we wouldn't be able to start this year. And they agreed with that. And we haven't gotten another update again yet that tells us it's different. So
they would be doing curb and gutter most likely on West St. Clair.
not if they're to schedule. And I'm not in any way suggesting, Bernie, this means that you can't do it. You asked if there's anything else we expect to be going on, specifically construction, and I'm going, we expect construction to be going on.
Expect construction to be going on all the way down St. Clair to Kidder.
Did you say they plan on doing one lane at a time? So one lane would be open?
One lane would be open, but we don't know what. Chief.
If I may, if it were to go down to one lane and if it does create a hardship, I could always have a vehicle out there to assist with traffic, to let them out the wrong way, stop traffic for them, if that would help. I could always, as long as he keeps in contact with us, I'd be more than happy to have a car go out to assist with traffic to make sure they could get out safely on the one way. I mean, going through the construction, probably not, but if it was a lane open, even if it was the wrong way, we could assist with traffic control.
Basically,
Also, when they
we're
return,
lined up right next to each other, following the leader. We wouldn't block that lane
Just
for more
one
than
group moving
10, 15
through,
minutes.
right? Okay.
but then you return to the bells, is that correct?
Yes.
All right, so then we'd have the same
As long
thing.
as I have a contact information, they can reach out to my officer that's working. We can have somebody available. Shouldn't be an issue.
And Bernie, they'll all be driving back at the same time too, or are they kind of spread out? They'll
It's
just,
just one
all
big
one
follow
group.
the leader.
that makes it easier, I think, to coordinate.
And, I mean, isn't this the same event that the first time was last year, but it was at the Lions Club instead?
Last year it was at the bowling alley.
From hideaway lanes.
Okay.
And if I'm not mistaken, I believe they even blocked off Van Dyke so that we could get all through the light at one time.
Okay, I'm remembering something different. Maybe it was a different event. I remember the first time that there was the question of this side-by-side event, because we know that the township was.
It did leave from the Lions Club the first year.
It did, okay,
Yeah.
so that was the first year. That's.
Lions Club was the first year.
Okay, so this is the third year. I forgot about the second. That's why I was just trying to clarify. Because I just remember there being an issue of whether or not we're crossing Van Dyke. You don't plan to cross Van Dyke at all, which is why I didn't even bring it up. And I was just trying to remember the difference in the details.
Well, now they are crossing.
No.
Not this time.
No, if you look at
This
the.
is going out
they're
for
not this time.
Shoemaker. So I guess the only other concern is to let the road commission know.
Oh, okay.
Because you'll be traveling on a county squire from Elmont all the way to Rochester is off limits.
This was the first step to get by you guys. And then every time we've done this, we've notified everybody that where we're going, what we're doing when we're in their area, so that it is no surprise.
Proper action be motion, not object, or
We-
consensus?
We don't object. We don't have the authorization to.
Approve
to
or disapprove, yeah.
Right. I don't believe it violates any of our ordinances, so there isn't like a special resolution or anything, but we don't take issue with it. We don't have any objection with it, but I don't think we have any stated action.
So we don't take.
A motion to make.
We're not objecting to it. We're not telling you no. We also can't necessarily give you permission either.
Well, I had to put down a $500 non-returnable deposit at the bells. And that's why I was kind of hoping that I get a yay or nay and bless me and send me on my way.
The best we can legally provide is we don't object, because we can't take on the liability of authorizing it. That's beyond where we can go. Because just so we're clear, it's the same thing that I recall we did on the previous side-by-side events. We don't object. We're not telling you no, but we can't authorize it either.
I'd be happy with it. You don't object.
We don't object.
No objections.
I believe is the position of council, and unless anybody else feels differently.
Can we do a follow-up maybe like a month or so before the event when we have a better idea of the construction plan and we can work with the company to finalize any details and arrange police support as needed?
Follow up directly with Mr. Culpa, is that what you're?
Yeah.
I don't disagree, I'm just making sure.
One way or another, the people that live in this area have to get out and about. So I can only imagine we could find another way around if in fact.
Yeah, so my other idea is you could go north on Van Dyke to Tub Spring, but I don't know if you need MDOT approval to do that.
That's part of the problem is both
Yeah.
county and states, if you're not supposed to touch 53 at all. That's where it becomes a problem. That was what we were looking at as well as what the township was looking at. It's why they had a 300-person meeting. Lots of people came out. It's a very, very touchy subject. And we didn't do anything more than adopt the same the same position that the county did. Is that correct, Pete? I think you're pretty familiar with that.
I'm just pulling it up, actually.
And from my understanding, we're certainly not supposed to let them touch state highways, or at least offer that authorization. We don't have the right to offer that authorization. A lot of what they're gonna be touching is gonna be township, also outside of our jurisdiction. So the safest thing for us to do is say, if we don't object, we're not trying to stop you. We can't go as far as to offer our support and authorize it. And so I understand, trying to find a route that would get around the construction, but that's probably not feasible for the Bells, that particular
We
location.
do have an ORV ordinance, so that we probably should make sure that we're following, meaning don't let anybody under the age of 16 that doesn't have a driver's license drive the ORV in the village.
Oh, yeah, that's all part of the non-disclosure.
No objection.
I think that's still our position. We don't object. Advise you
Don't
follow.
object,
Object.
So we're good.
Rules.
Okay. Thank you.
Item number 2, fourth quarter budget amendments, clerk treasurer Listerman.
We went through the revenue and expenditure report as it was and looked over what we felt needed changing. Normally, I would ask for a policy next year. The rule of thumb and the suggestion from many municipalities, the general fund, as long as it balances by department, and then every other fund is revenue and expenditures at the end. But I went through and cleaned up what I saw that was a grave need. Some had no budget to begin with. I could not touch the DDAs. They didn't make any budget amendments, but their revenue and expenditure balance. So that is what I did. I looked at what Kim used. So all of the resolutions are her templates with the updated information, except that I actually corrected the 25-26 on that resolution for the budget, but must not have saved right. I was working remotely from the campground on some of that, so I apologize again. With that being said, I also include and always have the journal entry that happens in BS&A when those amendments are made, so you can see them, and then print a new revenue and expenditure afterwards, which shows those changes, because that's what the auditors I've worked with always look for when they see budget amendments. And we really haven't done any this year, so that's where we're at with it. So if there's specific questions on the amendments that were made, I'd be glad to answer them. And I will speak right now that with pulling all of that, we needed the millage rate set tonight so we could move forward to mail tax bills. So I don't know when you're going to reschedule, but it's backing up the timeline to get those tax bills out. So.
The special meeting will need to be done obviously before July 1st.
Plus, we also have to have enough time to do truth and taxation hearing, because I have to publish it in the paper again.
So I just have a question on the timing of the fourth quarter budget amendments, since we're still in the fourth quarter.
You have to have your budget amended before the end of the fiscal year. You could not meet afterwards by the Uniform Budgeting Act to change the budget. So we have to project out.
Okay.
Otherwise, you get written up for it in the audit. And I did, on the park side, I didn't mention looking down at that, because your park board talked about it while I was there. I took out that $215,000 revenue for the potential grant and took
That's
it
it.
out of the
Yeah.
expenses. So it evened out, but it changes the numbers. And on the general fund, I knew that we were doing the parking lot and I wasn't sure what that village side of it was going to be, but we had put in the 255 fund, which is what I call like a buildings and grounds, 890,000 possibly for the DPW. So I dropped that down somewhat. I think I took 250,000 off just because I knew that the general fund might need some of that money. This is my first time working with your financial statements, and as much as I did the, projection, I wasn't sure because we hadn't done others. I didn't want us to be caught off guard on that general fund because that's the one they'll write us up on the most if there's an error and it doesn't balance to how you budgeted. So it gave that little bit of cushion.
Some budget amendments.
Was the negative $25,000 for equipment rental, that was just a placeholder?
I think it's actually the equipment rental.
449.
Yes, so that's because that is in the DPW that they placeholder. Well, they had spent money that we didn't have a budget for. So that's where I fixed that. And I think that was something that they purchased. Let me see if I can, sorry, I should know that off the top of my head. I should just look at the account number. What's the? Oh, that is in the major street. So that was, they had equipment rental. They used more than we put down for because of the heavy snow this year. So that's what that one is, which is actually revenue. So. Are there any other questions?
So moved.
Support?
Motion by Councilmember Feldman, supported by President Pro Tem Steffler to approve the fourth quarter budget amendments 2026 as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those
Excuse
opposed-
me, Mr. President, but budget amendments have to be a roll call vote.
Oh, my bad.
So
Roll
that's
call.
okay.
Roll call.
Schneider?
Aye.
Steffler?
Aye.
Feldman?
Aye.
Miller?
Aye.
And Powell?
Aye.
Dyke?
Motion passes unanimously by roll call by all council members present. Or item number 3, Park Board camera use policy. This was discussed several meetings ago. There was some revisions. We had a discussion on it last meeting. So this would be first read, or do we need a first reading? No,
It's not an ordinance.
It's not an ordinance, so we can just pass it.
If council so.
If council,
deems fit.
well, it's up for vote to be,
It is possible to vote,
it's possible to vote on.
but we need feedback from President Pro Tem Steffler since she was going to take it to the park board.
I took it to Park Board at our last meeting. There were no comments, questions. There was basically satisfactory for Park Board.
Do I have any other additions or suggestions for the policy? If being none, do we have a motion? Can we entertain a motion to approve?
Scrolling to the top here. I will make a motion that we approve the park camera access and use policy.
Motion by President Pro Tem Steffler, supported by Councilmember Schneider, to approve the park camera access and use policy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously by all council members in attendance. Item number 8, the High Street Insurance Financial Services. Manager Curtis.
Yes, there's a memo and a copy of the recent or proposed policy for next year for our property and liability insurance. It's gone up 6.5%, mainly based on the increase in our values and the property values and the equipment values. As you see, I highlighted that we added additional coverages, terrorism coverage, the cybercrime coverage up to $1 million. And one of the items that was specifically highlighted is drone coverage up to a 25-pound vehicle, aircraft. So we are covered with that specifically called out in our insurance as we move forward with drone training and acquisition of a drone. So, any questions? I'm High Street Insurance Group. They are the ones that won the bid 2 years ago. We did a detailed bid of all the insurers in Michigan that provide this kind of coverage. They have been excellent to work with. I was looking to get a long-term agreement with them, multiple years to lock in our expenses or our costs. They couldn't do that due to our size and our previous track record with insurance issues. So after this third year, if we bid it next year, they will be able to give us a long-term 3-year policy, they believe at this point.
I was going to ask. So I was going to say, I remember last year you saying, I'm going to bring you a multi-year policy next year so we don't keep renewing each year. And I planned on asking what happened. I thought we were getting a multi-year.
Yeah, again, it's due to our size and again, particularly our history. We've had a great history with High Street so far, but they usually go back 5 years. So this will be our third year with them, and that'll put us in the clear of any large or odd claims. And as long as we have a good year this year, we should be able to get on a bid that includes a 3-year proposal from the same people we got bids from last time.
This is not the binding policy, correct? This is a draft. And the reason I asked that, I remember last year being presented with the same thing, and there were numerous little things that needed clarification and correction. And I remember Clerk Treasurer Kiesler then saying that these were all things that we could still have corrected prior to execution.
Right.
So they were kind of minor, but so this isn't the final one. There's still a possibility of minor correction to some of
As
these
an
details.
example, we know that in the list of property, there's a couple of things that were incorrect, but this was them bringing it to me, sitting down, going over it. We approve it before year end. You authorize me to sign the agreement, then we'll update it. And we'll go through the property. Each department head will go through the list. Well, they're already doing that, going through the list of property, and then the final draft will come back to be signed. So what you would do is approve this and allow me to sign it, or myself and the president.
The package line, I agree, 6.5% increase, but it's a 13% increase overall for our premium. It goes from 102,608 last year to 115,893, if I'm reading this correctly. So,
Well, I did my comparison on the main expense line, the top number, and then considering what it went up from year to year. Let me find that.
I was just comparing last year's premium to this year's premium. It's a 13% increase, not a 6.5% increase. That on the package line only, if you only consider that line of the entire thing, sure, but the in totality, the premium that we're actually going to pay looks like it's about double that.
I know there is a reason or a comment about that. I should have kept this bound. It would be easier to take apart. So we had, there was an increase. One valuation in particular was our pump station, but building, I've got that note here. But I do believe we also included all those additional coverages last year. So your totals. Do you have a page number of that page you're looking at? I know it in my mind, but I can't find it here.
So we still have a few things that we need to correct in this? Is that what we're saying?
Well, there are items, it would be, the goal here would be to approve because this technically, there it is, it technically expires at the end of the month, so.
For clarification, it's not as if the premiums that we would pay is what would change or the idea of the coverage, but the specifics of what property they have in the policy that they're covering, those have to be pretty exact because later you go and say it's covered and they say, no, you didn't list it correctly. It's not covered. Those were the corrections we were most concerned about last year. I'm not suggesting we have an issue with it this year. That's why I just want to make sure we have the ability to still correct some of the line items, not necessarily their coverage amount, but making sure that the items are listed properly. And then it's just, I noticed in your memo, you had indicated it was a 6.5% increase, but looking at last year's exact packet from them it was 102, and now it's 115, I think. So
Well, and so what the comparison I used was for the 102, are you looking at the exact packet like you said?
from last year is what I compared it to.
And the 102 is called the municipal package line item?
No. The 102 is the grand total for premiums from last year versus the grand total for this year is listed on page 127 of our packet. Excuse me, 125. It's 127 digitally, 125 in print probably. It shows the grand total is the 115. I was just saying that was the 13% increase I was referring to.
Okay, because I was using the municipal package, the top line in the series of fees
And
difference.
I agree with you. I agree.
So-
That's what I was saying. If you look at only that line item, then yes, it's 6.5% increase. If you look at the actual total premiums we're expected to pay, which is what we're actually approving, it's a 13% increase. I guess my only other question is just that the memo claims we get a 1 million cybercrime coverage, but the schedule caps it at the 250. Is one of the things I asked about last year. And it lists tech errors and omissions as no coverage given. So what are we planning here?
Check those. No, I know the cyber was $1 million. There's a line that calls that out in the cyber. You're saying there's a cyber section that says
Just one second, I'll give you the page number.
250 unmanned aircraft 25.
Cyber liability starts on page 151 of the printed packet. So we have cyber incident response is $1 million, but cyber crime, for example, most of them are capped at 250. 2 of them are capped at 50.
cyber extortion, $1 million. On 151, right? Oh, I see, you're calling out,
You're looking at insuring clause number 1 as $1 million, but we have several other clauses which
right,
go for
A, B,
far
C,
less.
right, for various manipulations, cyber-wise.
Right.
Okay, yes.
Just for
I would
clarification, we don't have $1 million worth of coverage for all cyber-related things. There are certain very specific areas that provide $1 million worth of coverage. Some of the others are 250, some of them are dropped to 50. It's really specific and technical in which way you make the claim that they'll actually provide coverage. And those coverages have significant caps below $1 million for some of those instances.
Correct. Under the cybercrime clause 2. Yes.
The reason I asked about the corrections is because on page 145, I already took a snip and emailed it to you and to Randy and to Tim. We've got 3 properties located in Clare, Michigan on this
It's the
list.
same thing I corrected
Yeah.
last year. That's what I'm getting at. They clearly gave us the exact same listing packet and updated it from last year.
Yeah.
And we had numerous corrections to street addresses, the way they're spelled, all kinds of other things. And I have that concern because if you approve this and then you go to make a claim and they go, we don't have to cover it. We covered Clare Street. You go, there is no Clare Street. Well, then you shouldn't have signed it.
It's not Clare Street. It's actually Clare, Michigan.
Exactly.
So,
What page? 150,
145 in the printed.
145, okay.
And I'll be honest with you, those are the exact same ones I flagged
They are.
last year.
They are.
And so I wasn't going to reiterate all of them again. If it's not final, we just need to go through every single line item there because they get numerous wrong. I think there was 10 or 15 last year somewhere in the ballpark that we had to correct.
And I clearly didn't compare the lists. I expected it to have been updated. And just took what they provided me and put it in the packet with the memo.
Why bother to retype what you could rinse, wash, and repeat is the insurance company's motto. So
Some of the addresses don't have numerical values in front of them either. One, like the last one just says Main Street.
yep. And
Gotta be a building there.
2 items above that, number 11 on the bottom page 140, it's just Van Dyke and St. Clair. They're right. Them being specific, they are going to be vague about that or give incorrect amounts, and it may not even be intentional, but it is certainly to their benefit for this to be wrong. We're the ones that have to be nitpicky about it.
14, number 14 also.
Yeah. All right,
So
well, we
I'm
can,
just looking to give authority.
Yes, wait, authority,
Yep.
which would be circumstantial on a thorough review and correction of all those. But I mean, the policy limits and the increase in the premium, I'm not raising objection to those. I just wanted to be clear as to how much that premium was, what the coverage and caps were, and just make sure that we get the property list thoroughly corrected.
well, are you, of course, you have the choice to hold off until our special meeting and we could have these all approved or changed by then.
We didn't do that last year. We left it to staff to make sure that they corrected those specific items because I don't know that council is even in a position to verify every one.
I'd agree with that.
We can tell when something's wrong. That doesn't mean I can tell you how to put it correctly. So I mean, I'm okay with us moving forward, passing it contingent upon those very same corrections.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other concerns or questions from council? Then I'll entertain a motion.
Make the motion that we approve the High Street insurance policy as presented with the additional contingent corrections to all the listed property coverages.
Support.
Motion by Councilmember Schneider, supported by Councilmember Miller, as stated on the record. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes by all council members present. Agenda item number 9, the DDA administrative agreement.
Mr. President, I believe, and as a DDA member, you can correct me or add to my comments. This is the result of my request of the DDA to reimburse the village for administrative work that we've been doing on their behalf, writing checks, paying bills, those sort of things, copier lease, over the last year. I originally asked for that as a simple admin fee. Request was made, well, what's covered in that? So this agreement was developed. It was developed by an attorney for them, sent to us. We've went back and forth on it a couple times, and the DDA has now forwarded this as their final offer to an administration service agreement between the village and the DDA. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Mr. President, as a DDA representative, you want to give us some feedback as to what they discussed at their meeting and their thought process on?
Yeah, so historically, I think it's been discussed for council before, just so it's on the record. Past administration said that they could do certain items for the DDA at no cost. Most of that was doing financial, and most of that involved financial record. When Dale came on and did the village-wide expense, people paying for expenses that they incur, a admin fee to the DDA was brought up. The DDA originally asked for a proposal from the village that never came. They had one drafted. It went back and forth between us a couple of times. I think the original price on it was $4,000. The DDA discussed it at their last meeting and made the motion, and it was approved to enter into this agreement for the price of $3,000 for the items listed in section
The annual fee they had before was $3,000 in the draft by their attorney. So revision by village staff submitted back to the DDA, upped it to $6,000, and then they came back reducing it again.
And the only thing to add to your comments is they had requested I don't know that they requested an agreement, but a explanation for the administration fee. So I had provided that letter to them, but at the same time, they generated this agreement, which is much more formal. And the only thing I would bring up in this agreement that I raised question with the DDA since we received it was the annual preparation of the proposed DDA budget. I was unaware that our previous treasurer gave them a proposed budget, which basically was a printout of their current budget with the status year to date. But for us to prepare their budget, I thought was odd. That would that would
I don't
see
know
that.
what you would refer to it as. They have every single year always relied on our clerk treasurer taking their last year's budget, modifying it with whatever the current circumstances are, revising it, providing it to them, and that's what they then take to their board to then work off of. They have received essentially a working baseline proposed budget from our clerk treasurer every year.
I saw this and also questioned it as well. The preparation of the proposed DDA budget, I think, is different than providing them a status of their approved budget and their costs for the year. This almost makes it sound like we're filling in the blanks on the next year.
Well, that the clerk treasurer provides it. The village does, not village council necessarily, but so this was exactly why the request of the DDA when they received the revised agreement was, tell us what verbiage you would like to modify. If there's something in there that you do not like, please tell us what you would like to delete, what you would like to add, what you would like to modify. We got 0 requested modifications to the language itself.
We got, who's we in this instance?
The village council received back 0 requested modifications to the proposed contract.
I'm not following.
So
Because this is the first time we've seen, like, council has seen this.
So I'm trying to clarify.
Okay.
The DDA's attorney did the very first draft of such an agreement.
Mm-hmm.
It was turned around and given back to village administration. Village administration expanded upon it to include more than just the baseline bookkeeping services agreement, included several of the other services so that we could lock all of them into one agreement to clarify so we don't continuously have this battle every year on those costs. And when it was taken back to the DDA, it was, if there's anything you don't like in this newly updated draft, please provide back whatever requested revisions you would like. Is that incorrect, Tim? So that's what I'm getting at is they did not modify or request to modify any of the verbiage itself. And if anyone on council has any verbiage they'd like to see modified, I would behoove us to actually modify the language as presented for the moment.
I mean, I do feel like that one line should be modified.
To what?
Something that doesn't say annual preparation of the proposed DDA budget. We're not preparing their budget.
Annual update of the current budget.
Doesn't this annual calculation of captured revenue and preparation of taxable value worksheets and year-end summary? Does that cover what we are providing for them?
It's actually the 2 lines down from the annual preparation of the DDA's annual financial report, I would guess would be their year-end summary. So the bigger question I have for you, Dale, is, and Randy.
Absolutely not. You already did a workup on that, didn't you?
I agree. But what I did say is it's a beginning where there was nothing. So I explained in detail, item by item, what the costs were, as an example, what it cost to write a check, exactly how many checks the village did for the DDA last year equals X. Their share 1/12 of the copier lease is X, and gave them a detailed list that way. It wasn't a lot of different numbers, but it was right around $3,000. And then what I included on top of that was the staff's answering the front desk, taking payments for car show activities or handing out banners through because our staff's there 40 hours a week in the office doing those things on behalf of the DDA, and that I rounded the roughly 3,000 to 5,000 for the year. The counter was 3,000.
So currently, we're charging them $0 for this rough list of activities.
I would say yes, because, and part of this list was being done by the LDC for them at a fee of $4,000 a year.
And it turns out that the LDC was never actually doing it at all, that the village
We were doing
was
it.
still doing it then. So
Yeah.
then they decided not to renew their membership with the LDC and not pay them the $4,000. And at the time that they made the decision to do so, the then village manager said, we will continue to offer that service to you for free, which was why they decided not to renew. Now we've taken the position, we will not continue to do it for free. We actually want you to pay us to do that, which they're going, wait a minute, you told us you were doing it for free. That's why we agreed not to continue to renew with the LDC. So that's also why their aim of the first draft was just to address just that part, just the bookkeeping stuff that LDC was supposed to be doing, that now the village has taken on. They wanted to address just that. And our village manager wisely said, no, if we're going to have an agreement, we need to have it encompass more of these details so we don't keep having this disagreement year after year. It should include all of these different details that seem to be a reoccurring theme of disagreement and what should be charged and what they should have to pay for certain things. So just trying to nail it down in a contract is the baseline starting point.
We additionally receive rent from them for the space that they occupy at Village Hall, and that was something I started when I got here too.
Right. And that was our part of their discussion as well, as to, like, you know, they, from watching the meeting, Tim, please correct me if I'm wrong, they felt as some of the things that are on this bullet pointed list are things that they're already paying for under other services. So for example, their rent went up, and one of the last times that their rent was increased, it was justified by also including additional copy fees. So then we're already charging additional rent, which was supposed to include copy fees, but then copy fees are being put on this list. They're saying, wait a minute, I'm already paying you for that under increased rental fees. There's discrepancy over what should be charged and what should or should not be included here. And they argued that some of these bullet points, this is my issue with the last TDA meeting, some of these bullet points are not applicable or are not being provided, or being provided on such a minimal basis it doesn't justify the price. Therefore, they countered by reducing it by $1,000 was their argument. But they didn't actually redline the agreement itself to strike the items that they didn't agree with. So they changed the math, but not the wording that supports the math, which is very confusing. And our president did attempt to try to address that before it came back to us, but that didn't pan out.
Yeah, because some of the things on this bullet points, I mean, the DDA director could do, and essentially, and then that would be one less thing that they would have expectation to have to pay for.
Like what?
The M53 load
No.
permit.
Can't do it.
The village has to.
The village has to do it.
that.
Most of the things on this list are things that they are not allowed to do. But there are other things on here that the DDA can do. So for example, Dale, you mentioned, you know, being at the counter and handing out stuff on their behalf. And they're saying that happened a total of grand whopping one day last year when Angela was sick. That they're the ones handing out those things, and the DDA will handle those things, and they're not asking village staff to hand out things on their behalf. Was that not the commentary on that topic?
It's close to that.
That isn't.
I'm not,
Yeah.
I don't know who's
So
handing it
the
out.
reality is people, I'll just use one thing as an example. And it's very minor, but again, we're making an all-encompassing list, so I put everything on it. the DDA makes a banner for military hero. The year after, they give those to the people who bought them. They may come in and pay us for that to give through to the DDA, and then the end of the next year, those are sitting out front in the office, and one day the DDA says, hey, come and get these, we'll be there on Tuesday. And they give out half or 2/3 of them even. Then we give out whatever's left over a period of time, some of them anyway. So there's just little things like that happen all the time because people know they can come to the front office and conduct business. Sometimes Angela's here, sometimes she isn't.
So my understanding is they wanted to remove things like responding to resident inquiries related to DDA matters, including in-person telephone support. They wanted that removed because they were saying that's something Angela should be doing. They don't want village staff taking on that responsibility or speaking on their behalf. They want to speak on their own behalf. There were other items. My only point,
I agree with that.
I do too. My only problem is that they discussed this more than once. They came to a conclusion about what they want to do for the modification of the price, and they offered verbal justification of it, but then did not modify the agreement to match. So now it's a little unclear. My strong recommendation is that if council has any verbiage in here that they don't like or they think that should be revised, we should do that first, and then we can send it back to them, and then they can also in like kind make modification to it. I think we're still a few steps away from getting anywhere here, but somebody's going to have to, be the adult in the room and actually modify the agreement in a way that they see appropriate. And we gave them that opportunity first. It partially worked. So now I think we need to take it the rest of the way and submit it back.
So I don't want to keep picking at this too much, but so someone calls the front office during the day and says, hey, how do I get a Heritage Festival sign-up sheet? Well, let me send you to the DDA voicemail. Click. Versus us telling them, you can come into the office and pick it up, or you can look at it online. Though they don't want us to communicate with the public on their behalf.
I'm not going to.
You're the messenger, I guess.
I'm not going to speak on their behalf. I'm repeating what I watched on the live YouTube meeting that everyone else can watch for themselves. Okay. I would say that is certainly something that should be discussed with the DDA director and bears further clarification. But if they want it struck, okay.
I mean, I think we really need to limit this to bookkeeping and administrative services. Answering the phones, speaking on their behalf. I think responding to resident inquiries absolutely we should strike that. That might be something we do, but we're not deciding who's answering what. That's outside of what I think this agreement should be. And if we're suggesting changes, I would just strike annual preparation of the proposed DDA budget. We're not preparing their budget.
Or providing them budget information.
It's captured above.
What's that?
It's captured above, and if they feel like they need additional clarification, they should propose a change.
Again, clarification. That's not their language. That's village administration's language.
I'm just saying my comments as a council member. Strike, and then I also looked at the securing annual M53 road closure permit. But Angela still prepares the paperwork, gives it to our administration to submit. So I don't want the task of filling out the paperwork to come to our people to do instead. That's still the director's responsibility. So I don't think that needs to be on here either. I think we need to limit it to the payroll processing, just what we're doing for them for those administrative services. Those are my comments.
Securing seems to be in line with what you're mentioning. It didn't say preparing, it's securing.
I would just strike it. It doesn't need to be in here, in my opinion. everyone else is subject to their comments as well.
Gail, I know you wanted that included on the list. Do you have any commentary as
It's
why?
just one of those things that flows through our office, and I don't disagree with you. The details of the permit are the DDA's specific charge. They come up with when they're going to have it, the times and all that sort of thing. But then we go out and apply for the permit. Actually, I'm just not sure if Brian does that or actually Angela applies for that permit. But if I would assume that if Angela does it, you would have, or the DDA would have struck it from this list.
They didn't strike anything.
Didn't strike anything.
I know, that's what I'm saying. So they left
I
it in.
remember her name being on the permit a couple of years ago, but that,
Well, clarification again, I think she prepares it, gives it to you guys, and then you guys have to do that, because that was one of their things. There's a lot of bullet points on here that doesn't take a lot of time. That's one of them. You guys do it, but it's.
Because it must come from the village.
Because it must come from the village, but for the village to do it, it's not a time-consuming effort to go and apply for this permit, from what discussions at the DDA led me to believe.
I'm certain they would also like to see it struck. I think their perspective is that that type of verbiage is being added to pad the list to try to justify a higher price. At least it certainly sounds like the way that they're reviewing it. And just so we're clear, I'm not arguing that it stays in or stays out. Anybody wants to make any modifications, I'm more than willing to entertain that. I want us to make whatever modifications we see fit. I just know that village administration added it. I'm just curious why, if it's being discussed as whether or not it's even necessary.
And I'm not against striking the budget language, but at some point you do provide them budget information so they can create their budget. So
Which is monthly. They
we do
they get
that
financial
every
reports
month.
monthly.
But
And then I
Complete
don't mind at budget
preparation
time.
of financial statement, annual calculation of captured revenue and preparation of taxable value worksheets.
were they provided with information this year that was the basis of the budget? What would you call what you provided? Because that was not the monthly report. So what was that?
I gave them a revenue and expenditure report that showed what their activity was, what their original budget was, and what the amended was. And then he worked from there.
So are you saying Mindy's accurate in stating that
Yes.
the statement of the annual preparation of the budget falls under the other entities listed here?
Yes. When they're done and they give me a draft back, then obviously it has to be entered in BSNA, and I don't expect them to do that part. But we give them all the prep work, and they did all the work with numbers. They called with questions. It was actually Scott, their new treasurer, that I emailed back and forth with. And then they did I'm assuming a budget workshop meeting and sent me back numbers, and that's what I put into the software for council.
It's the first year it's ever worked that way, though. Previously, they would always get a budget they would work off of. If we're not going to provide it anymore, then we're not going to provide it anymore. We did provide it.
And I'm not Kim, and I told you that when I was, so those are things that I was not asked to do, and never had any training from Kim of what she did do, so that's not how I've ever done it for any other DDA, so I just
I'm not-
followed that.
Clarification, I'm not saying we should be doing it, we shouldn't be
Yeah.
doing it. I'm not taking a position in it. I'm trying to just make sure we're all on the same page. We did previously provide it. I know that they received an Excel spreadsheet that was the exact budget that they would work off. They usually made minor modifications to that exact same Excel spreadsheet in their meeting and then resubmitted it back to us for approval. But 98% of all the work was already done by Kim, provided to them. It's what they worked off of.
I would
Made
say
minor
they-
modification, resubmitted it back.
they
That's how
got-
they got it.
when they questioned and asked for that documentation, that's what I sent them, is what comes out of the create a budget draft, and it was in Excel. And he, there's suggested numbers, and then Scott put in those numbers, and they met on it and sent it back, so.
So
Don't
that
know.
could very well have been the same thing. I didn't know
Yeah.
that Kim did that
Yeah.
until this discussion started 2 weeks ago.
And the only reason I did is because I watched the DDA meeting where they discussed it at length. So explaining how that process worked. And if if we're going to modify the line, because we don't want to say we're preparing the budget, can we come up with just something that it does accurately reflect what we do? If we strike it in entirety, I just don't want them saying, but wait a minute, so now you're not going to give us what you've given us every year previously? I just want it to work.
We modify the second line item and on the end, just add proposed budget in preparation of taxable value worksheets and proposed budget.
I think, if I'm not incorrect here, President Pro Tem Steffler's concern is the words proposed budget.
Proposed budget. We're
She doesn't-
not proposing their budget.
Well, legally, we can't do their budget for them. So there's a separation for the DDA and they capture. So legally, we're not supposed to.
Can you say
Assist
provide
with budget process.
Can you say provide
Assist
budget
with annual
worksheet?
That would be better.
Would provide budget worksheet be a better terminology, and to switch the annual preparation of proposed DDA budget to supply DDA with budget worksheet? Is that amendable to all parties?
First of all, just quick interruption. For number four.
Here's the difference, Mindy. We are giving them budget information because we have to give them budget information out of our financial system so they can do their budget. We're not proposing their budget. We're not creating their budget, but they have to have the numbers from BSNA to do their budget.
You could say, provide budget number, provide
Template.
budget template.
Proposed DDA budget template instead of worksheet. I don't care about the semantics
I
here.
don't care either.
If it's worksheet, if it's template, if it's something, as long as we are not creating the instance where they are going, now you've removed the language that provided us the thing we work off of every year. And I'm saying the thing because I don't want to get into the semantics over what it is. They view it as a proposed budget, as far as I understood. Maybe they don't. Call it a worksheet, call it a template. I don't care what you want to call it, as long as we don't entirely remove it so that was to create now we're not going to do that for you anymore.
And we could easily call it budget template / worksheet. That sounds exactly what we're doing.
Any of those are acceptable to me. My only issue is I know number 4
Provide.
previously had bullet points or more of an itemization, which have clearly been removed, makes this confusing. Can we, when we revise this, can we make that for A, B, C, D, E, F, just so we actually know what we're referring to instead of we're trying to say the second, third one, whatever? We just add the numbering and lettering back in?
And correct the margins.
Yeah, there's all kinds of formatting things that disappeared. That's what you can see at the bottom, error, unknown document property. There's been, it's driving me
Now,
nuts.
this came from their attorney.
No, not this version. This did not. This is fourth version of it that a lot of the formatting has been removed.
So our action tonight then is send it back with these recommendations.
Well, yeah.
How do you want to receive feedback?
Yeah, we discuss it now. They make a revised draft and send it back to the DDA, or unless we're saying we want to then see that revised draft again before we send it back again. My opinion is this is something, this is contract negotiation. It's a rough draft of a contract. We're saying we want to see these revisions. We send it back to them. They'll want probably additional revisions. It'll come back to, we'll do this until both parties are satisfied. And then hopefully we don't have to do this again for a long time.
Does this need to be approved before the end of June?
No, the financial numbers supporting it is in their proposed budget that we would have gone over and likely approved tonight anyways. But those types of numbers are in their budget every year. It's just that it's not consistent and it's not locked in, and it gives them an inability to have an expectation of what they're gonna pay and for what. So this locks that in because it has been consistently changing for them. They feel as though the ground is always moving under their feet, and this would lock in certainty for both sides and minimize the bickering on these topics back and forth every year.
So I have an additional question. So there's a scope of services and then there's Exhibit A.
Mm-hmm.
So why, if we're spelling out the scope of services, why do we have an exhibit?
more thoroughly defines these things was what I believe the intention was.
Just seems like we're restating some things, but like rewording, I don't know. I feel like if there's a scope of services, we should have it in one spot as opposed to two different places.
This Exhibit A is very similar to the item that I provided them, the letter. So this breakout, that might be why they've added Exhibit A.
Written on it, I think it becomes,
Right, because it's like restating some, but then the wording is different. I don't know. It seems like one
redundant.
scope. Yeah, one scope of services. Yeah, exactly.
so far the changes we have are changing the wording on the preparation of the budget to to preparation of
Provide a budget.
provide budget template / worksheet.
And striking securing annual M53 road closure and striking respondent to resident inquiries related to DDA matters, including in-person telephone support. And anything else?
The other would be one scope of services instead of, yeah, so if there's something that's not included, that's in Exhibit A, then it should be moved. They just need.
Eliminate
One or the
Exhibit
other.
A and absorb anything that's not already covered into it,
Yeah.
right? You want it consolidated into one thing. I think
And then are we agreeing to notes about we're reviewing it annually and updated to reflect the actual costs? Are we keeping track of that?
That conflicts with the original document because it was supposed to be a 3-year contract with no revision. So which is it?
Which, exactly.
hence redlining would have been appropriate.
Yeah.
I think the first draft, which like I said was just to cover Village of Elmont providing the services that were covered by LDC. They had a very straightforward package of what LDC was covering for $4,000 a year. And so I believe it was the Bodman firm that prepared a draft for them to cover just that. But then we tried to work in a bunch of additional things that's one of the reasons for the conflict, I think. When the village came back with, it should cover all these additional things. Obviously, if they were paying $4,000 a year previously for it, they wanted to get it at a discount at $3,000 a year. Those same services the LDC was going to provide, which would lock in that price for 3 years because those aren't changing obligations. And these notes sections, I think, were meant to reflect that, well, now that it's not covering just the bookkeeping that LDC was doing, those numbers could change. That's the way I'm reading it.
I think there was a spirit that it should be reviewed. I think you could get rid of note number 1 and include note number 2 and 3.
But within the agreement.
Yeah, incorporating them. You have to incorporate the totality of Exhibit A, not just the services provided, but also the notes. And while I appreciate the sentiment that it was in the spirit of it would be reviewed, it can't have the contractual language that it's binding, it's stuck at exactly what it is for 3 years.
Except
It would
that.
need to be revised.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying when we strike Exhibit A in its totality, take lines 2 and 3 and add them to the contract.
Sure, but line 1 contradicts the language of the underlying agreement. So that's what I was saying is that would need to be addressed as well, because it can't be, you can't hope that it's in the spirit that they'll get reviewed annually and have contractual language and say.
I didn't say that should be the line. I was saying in the spirit of this contract when it was discussed.
Sure, right. So how do we amend section 3 of the underlying contract to reflect that instead? No, apologies. The page 1 of the bookkeeping agreement, the underlying agreement, so you scroll up to the page 1, what was just pointed out, and I agree, number 3, compensation, is contradictory to note number 1. They are opposite terms. So if we're striking note number 1, how do we modify number 3? We can incorporate everything that's in Exhibit A back into the original agreement. You don't have an Exhibit A, you just have one set of language. That is a contradiction in terms right now that we should address before we send it back.
And is it the village administration? Is it your position that you would like it to be reviewed annually?
I think it should be reviewed annually, but the language in note 1 doesn't reflect it, because the language in note 1 says the line item breakdown is provided for transparency, but there's a line item, but there's no cost to the line items. So how do you review no costs?
The allocation methodology that they reference, it doesn't exist if you don't have costs.
I want to clarify again, there was a red line version returned back to the DDA that looked different than what we're seeing. So you're getting, it's like there are massive chunks here that you can't see that are missing that makes this look like, what the heck are they talking about? Because you can't see the totality of what was presented to them. Clearly, somebody hit accept all changes on a bunch of red lines that it did not comport correctly, so now it's confusing. Setting that aside, this board is having its first crack at what do you want it to say? So I agree we can incorporate all language of Exhibit A into 1. We can incorporate the language of notes 2 and 3. That's simple enough. That's not that complicated. But for note number 1, the entire spirit and intent of that language is contradictory to what is in number 3. So do we propose that we are going to give them one flat rate that is locked in for 3 years, which is the current language, and you wouldn't need to modify it at all? Or do we recommend that we want it to be reviewed on some sort of basis, like annually, like it says right now? I don't know that we need to worry so much about what it says as much as worrying about what we think it should say.
Does it contradict it if the last sentence in section 3 says the compensation amount shall be reviewed annually by both parties and be adjusted with written amendment to reflect changes in scope of cost of services? Compensation shall be prorated in the event of early termination.
In my opinion, it's the first sentences and the last sentences of that very section are contradictory to each other. I mean, if it's shall pay this amount.
Well, Mr. President, I think that comes from the letter that I wrote that had details of what items were, the cost was and why.
But some of those items had costs and some of those items didn't have costs.
Did not,
So,
and that's
so
why.
that good effort, but it was confusing to try and break it down.
As an example, though, we could break down how many checks we write and what they cost, how much part of the copier lease and each copy costs, but how much it costs to have Pam answer the phone and direct DDA personnel. That was, again, why I just rounded to a higher number.
No, I get it.
But again, I tried to put everything in there that we currently do.
Yeah, so I mean, in discussing the cost of how this works, that's essentially my one issue with it that I was going to wait till later to raise, but it just kind of seems pertinent now. They previously paid the LDC for bookkeeping services $4,000 a year. We took on those bookkeeping services for free, but now want to be compensated for it. They are offering $3,000 for it. We said, let's make this agreement more encompassing of other topics and other things that we do, invoice processing and check issuance and shared office equipment and tax capture invoicing, other things that get done, and wanted to place agreeable amounts on that to increase it. They said, okay, thanks for including all these other things, but we're still only going to pay you $3,000, which is less than they were paying for the original contract with LDC for far less services. I'm just saying, no matter what, I'm not going to agree to $3,000 because it's even less than what they were previously paying the LDC for far less services. I do want us to come to agreement on what this contract should include and the verbiage of it, and then we can narrow down what the cost and that number should be. That's kind of the problem, is coming up with, we don't even agree on what services we're going to provide and what services they're going to accept, and we're also supposed to provide prices. That's why I believe the previous one had TBDs in there, because we can't even agree on what should and should not be provided. How are we going to give you the exact amounts at this point? This is not being done in a logical way where we're ever going to reach a resolution.
Yeah, and if you read it, now that I've read it like 5 times, it seems like, okay, we want to agree to the $3,000, but at the same time, we want to leave the door open to negotiate that $3,000 if you can't justify that expense at some point in the year. It's like saying, I want to pay this much for my car payment, but if I don't get the mileage out of it that I think I should have got, I'm going to pay you less next year.
Just so we're clear, Exhibit A, the services provided, that was the first column. There was a second column that had annual costs and laid out the annual cost to come to a total compensation of $6,000. It not only spelled out the detail of what that service category was, it allocated a price to it. That's why it was in addition to the verbiage that was set forth in Section 3 above. Section 3 above gave bullet pointed list of things services will provide. And then Exhibit A not only took those very same services, but broke them down price by price category to justify how it came to the total that was being requested. And that's all been removed.
Say that's not here.
That's all been removed. So now it doesn't make any sense at all. And you're just like going, well, this is just a redundant list that doesn't justify anything. But more importantly, they offered 3 for a service they used to pay 4 for. We said we'll offer even more services and we'll only up it to 6. And they came back and said, thanks for the extra services, I'll still only pay you 3. So let's get the verbiage right, but I think that the $3,000 isn't something I would be willing to accept at this stage, unless it is for bookkeeping only, which would mean we're going back to the very first draft provided by Bodman, which leaves all these other services that we are regularly providing for them with no measure for how we're supposed to recoup those costs. So I do think it should be addressed in this agreement. Let's get everything we possibly can covered in here so both parties know about it, know what they're paying for it. But this has got to start to move forward productively. Because this has been going on for quite a few months now between village administration and DDA. And I know this is this board's first chance at it. And I do realize, especially the way it's been presented to council now, it's a garbled mess. But can we just start trying to apply what our critical thinking skills to what we would like it to say so we can submit it back to them? I think that's going to be a huge leap forward in trying to resolve it.
You think that this might be a time for the committee to meet with the DDA?
No, I don't want this in joint subcommittee. No offense, I don't feel as though that's productive because numerous times at joint subcommittee, these have been the exact issues that keep coming up and they keep asking for resolution. Here's a provided resolution for how you will no longer have to be concerned about how you will be billed for it. And I'm not pleased with the response in that. So rather than us wasting more time at joint subcommittee, their full board weighs in on it, our full board weighs in on it. They asked repeatedly during joint subcommittee for some way to address these concerns, we are attempting to address those concerns. But that's not up to just the joint subcommittee. We can't take further action on it, neither can they. And so I just think it probably behooves us to just keep both full boards open public meeting discussing it. I don't know if it just does more to delay it.
So with that said, we've had about 30 minutes of discussion on this to this point of this meeting. We've come up with some conclusions of some language changes and some omissions and some strikes. Do we need to be discussing those details now, or does Dale have enough to work on to move forward? And what's that?
To send it back with changes, suggested changes.
A draft back to us.
A draft back to us first.
Oh, okay.
And if you can get more detailed pricing on each one, so we.
Some of the other supporting documentation.
Yes. Is council in consensus with that?
Do we need the financials as part of the agreement, or that's just supporting information for us?
I think if whatever supporting financial documentation is given to us that we feel justifies us putting that number in there should also be supplied to them so they knew what we relied on. Doesn't that make sense?
Is it part of the agreement? Or
I
just part-
don't, yeah, I don't think it's part of the agreement. I can see it be supplied information, but I don't think it should be part of the agreement.
Information back to that board stating, here's the hours worked, this is what it costs us to do.
This is why we're putting it in the agreement, but it's not part of the agreement.
Right.
It's supporting documentation. Here's what we were thinking. Here's what we were relying on. Why we put that number in there? Because in truth, that's been my major consideration and hurdle is even if we refine this language, I'm not comfortable returning it with it saying $3,000, but I don't know until we refine the language what number we should be putting in anyways. I just know that I feel as though we are taking far too less for that amount of services if we're doing that. It needs to be more than what they were previously paying for less.
So we do need Exhibit A with the costs associated.
No, right.
To see it.
No exhibits.
We need to fully spell out the services. We probably need to spell out what those services cost. It doesn't necessarily be in the form of Exhibit A. I'm fine with it all being consolidated into one. The verbiage needs to be there, and yes, we need supporting documentation to know what we feel wants to be our counter offer for the total fee that we are suggesting.
And the financial documentation we get from administration back that up would be provided to them, so we have support for the price we're offering.
Which I am certain they will appreciate because they always go, where did these numbers come from? These are just made up.
In defense of them, yes. Does anybody else have any other comments or questions on this? Manager Curberson, do you have the necessary information you need to move forward? And do we have consensus to move it forward as discussed?
Yes.
Okay. Agenda item number.
No agenda item after that.
No agenda
Say,
item.
yeah, say I have a question about that 10 on one.
Now's the time for public comment for any non-agenda item. Do we have any public comment tonight? Being none, before we go to closed session, council member comment, Manager Curberson, do you have anything to bring council?
Open discussion?
Oh, open discussion, my bad. Open discussion, the law enforcement contract services with Almont Township, Manager Curberson.
Yes, in front of you is a updated copy of the proposed contract to the township for the police services agreement with the updated numbers. And it is almost identical to the contract they received last year. The changes in it are highlighted in blue. So if you go to the second page, 1-4, I looked at this over and over and missed it over and over. We are not the Police Officers Association of Michigan anymore. We are the Fraternal Order of Police Labor Council. So that will need to be updated in the copy that goes to the township. I'll update it tonight before I leave. But the changes between last year's contract and this year's contract are in blue. You can see that they are very basic. Some of them were requested by their attorney last year, and they've been added in. That was as simple as shall versus will.
Those aren't, no, Dale, that's,
That wasn't one of them.
no, that's, okay, so slight clarification, just to give it the context. In negotiation, when we made our offer, our final offer that we had made, we said, and if you accept that, the village will be the drafting party, because last year both parties started trying to draft at the same time. We just wanted to make sure that this would work more quickly. We would be the drafting party, and we would use last year's contract as the basis for doing so. When the township made their offer that we ended up accepting, they said, and use last year's contract as the base. We didn't want to relitigate a bunch of the other provisions. It was just, these are the new terms. Take last year's contract, slap in the new terms, that's it. We had our counsel, the Bodman firm, did do these revisions for us. This is their revisions to it. So swapping shall versus will, that was the village attorney making these red lines. I realize they're in blue, but the red line modifications here were made by our village council. So what you're thinking of, Dale, is some things that say should, that in a previous iteration of the contract said shall, and that's because that was the concession we made last year during negotiation, because it was requested by theirs. So that no modifications you see here are at the request solely of the township. The modifications you see here are a reflection of the agreement the parties reached this year and an occasional grammatical change by our current village council that wanted to see things put a little differently. So in section 2.2, put and will name instead of and the township shall be named. He's changing the grammar of it, not the substance. The substantive changes are on the basis of the agreement that we reached. It being 3 years, the date, the time frame of the agreement, the 3% annual increases. That's primarily what you're seeing as the changes.
And the payment amounts.
Correct. So the modifications to the very agreement we all approved last year are minimal. They reflect a few grammatical changes, but primarily just the nature of the actual agreement both boards passed.
Get this in front of you in open discussion because the township received a copy of this. They sent it to their attorney. They had some points, but we wanted clarification on those points. They're going to vote. They're going to have a special meeting next Tuesday.
Yes.
Next Tuesday, as of now, as what we've been told by their supervisor, and then they will vote on the contract. And if there's any revisions from them, it'll come back before us after that.
In full transparency, they did receive this, but they didn't receive it with red line modifications. They received a completely clean copy. It was presented to their board last Monday. They had no context with it. They didn't know that our attorney reviewed it. They didn't know we had used the baseline agreement. They didn't have a side-by-side comparison. All they did was have a completely clean one. They didn't know what had been changed, what not had been changed. They did submit it to their attorney. He came back with points, and they kind of threw it back in our lap without any requested revisions. In order to try to move this forward, today we provided them with this exact copy before you, because it would be better to review it like this. You can see exactly what was changed from last year's contract, and with the context that the village attorney prepared it. We did use last year's as a baseline, and so this is also being disseminated to the township board members so they can call a special meeting and vote on its approval as well. So, but because we don't vote on things without it going in open discussion first, it's being presented for open discussion. But I just want to clarify, this is not only for our board, but also for theirs as well. Both boards came to an agreement on these terms in using last year's as a baseline. That's the motion that we made and passed. That's the motion they made and passed. So really the other provisions shouldn't be subject to relitigating, but anybody can make a motion at any time, so it's possible.
So one thing I've noticed on the bottom of page 2 in costs, the final line item with the first installment to begin on July 31st, 2026. It looks like previously it was July 1st, 2025.
Correct. That was one of their issues they brought up last year, and one of their concerns they brought up last year is because they're saying there is an overlap between when they get their first payment in and whether or not they're still going to make the payment within the month of July. They're just saying, what if we can't make it on the 1st? They wanted it to begin within the 31st. They still make their July payment within July. And they're saying if you move it to the 31st, there's never going to be a concern that they can make it timely. This did come up last year, and we did not make that revision at that time. And they raised it again this year. So that's one modification that's being made.
So the payments will be retroactive. There'll be payments for services rendered in the prior. It's not a prepayment of services for the following.
Oh, it never has been. It has always been retroactive. It's always been reimbursement. Correct.
Okay.
The month that they make a payment is always for the services of the prior month, right? So that is how it has always worked. Yes. Which is you provide the service first, then they pay the bill for it. They don't prepay for that service.
Questions or concerns at this time?
None for me.
Okay. Discussion, Manager Kerberson, do you have anything to bring to council?
No.
Chief Willis?
No, sir, thank you.
Clerk Treasurer Listerman?
The only thing is just asking for that special meeting so that we can do the tax roll and all that, so. And I'm just trying to Google to see how long that notice has to be in the paper beforehand, because I can't remember. I think it's 14 days, so we're really tight because we didn't do truth and taxation, so. Okay.
Councilmember Fowl?
So, none at this time.
President Pro Tem Steckler?
Just keep it really brief. We, on the park board, voted to approve the budget that you guys saw in our budget workshop. Randy, there was a correction to make in the budget documents I saw. It's the $6,000 in donations is missing from revenues. So that's why it's putting it off where it looks like we are using our fund balance for our budget for FY27.
For next year's budget?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I just wanted to bring that up to make sure that that's corrected when we vote and approve on that. The township did approve their contribution of $17,500 matching our village contribution. It was hard fought. Feel free to watch the township meeting if you want all of the gory details. I was happy that they approved that. I appreciate the votes in support of the park budget so that we could have a balanced budget for next year and maintain a fund balance that will allow us to have money for a match if we end up deciding to apply for a grant through DNR. As far as the park manager position, still a bit of a tough go on that one. Approval to move forward with the concept. They weren't comfortable with approving it yet. They wanted some more details specifically about how the position would be managed and by whom. I did ask for a commitment for them that it's not dead on arrival, so to speak, because we have put a lot of time and effort and thought into this moving forward. And I wasn't willing to continue to commit our limited park board members to trying to get this through if they weren't even going to consider. So I did at least get some feedback that they are still willing to consider the park position with some additional details. So we will continue to move forward and trying to get that position funded because we are still running a skeleton crew. We still do need at least one additional board member, and we'll continue to seek out that person. And that's all I have for tonight. Mhm.
Yeah, I was just curious when we're going to have the next special meeting. I know with the holiday coming up, there's going to be some people with vacations. And
Because
is that something that we can decide tonight or in this meeting, or how are we going? Like if Randy says she needs 14 days, that puts us at June
Strongly
30th.
recommend we do that tonight.
Yes, 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 yes.
we'll discuss it after council member comment.
I'm all set.
Councilmember Miller.
Yes, I understand that we still need one more volunteer for the remuneration committee. At least that's what I've been told.
So we still technically need two because we have not, we were supposed
Yes, we
to.
have.
We were supposed to have Nate on tonight's agenda. Even if you review our own meeting minutes, it said that we would have Nate on tonight's agenda because he was going to have submitted an application. Really, he has submitted an application,
He
right?
just submitted it this afternoon. That's
Okay.
why I took it off the agenda
Sure.
on Thursday.
That's fine. So that would make number 4, and we
Yes.
have 2 additional applicants as of
No other applications in your day. I basically said that, or Steve Schneider Senior said that he felt it was a conflict of interest, so he was withdrawing his, unless there was no other.
He submitted his application as well.
He didn't submit it yet as an application because he called me, so we're still standing with the email.
Letter of interest.
So,
Oh, I
Previously,
misunderstood because he
Yeah.
showed me an email that he sent you his application instead. But with
Yeah.
it saying that he was saying something along the lines of, he was only applying in the event we could not find a 5th. If there is a 5th, because of the possibility of a conflict of interest, he would otherwise withdraw. Like, he's willing to still come forward as long as we don't have another. And I was under the misimpression that there is another. So, yes, I guess we do still need another, although
I
we do
thought
have
that-
a 5th application.
I thought that there would be another applicant, which there isn't, or now is not. And no one else on council can suggest someone to apply. You know,
Well, you're doing so good and you've worked the west side so well. Why don't you cross Van Dyke and work the east side a little
You
bit?
know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's doing so well, Bob.
it would be nice if someone,
Yes.
someone else would come forth. If that's what the council would like, as far as, rather, if the council feels that Steve Schneider would be a conflict.
It's a conflict of interest for me to even weigh in. So if and when that ever becomes a topic, I must abstain. I cannot comment on that. So that is for the rest of council to decide.
Other than that, that's all I have.
Okay, I guess the only thing I have is get your calendars out.
I just got an answer, President Dyke. It has to be in the paper 6 days prior, so I just need time to get it in the paper. So tomorrow, I could put it again in the Sunday
Well,
paper.
we can't do it before next Wednesday anyways, because
Okay.
we have to wait for the township to approve their.
Hold on, wait a minute. They're gonna have a special meeting. We can schedule our special meeting regardless. It was all I would say. I would not.
No, you're misinterpreting what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, What I'm saying is we can't schedule our
That's
meeting
what I
until
apologize
after
right
next
there.
Tuesday.
We can't schedule it prior to that date.
Right.
You can schedule it
We can
now
schedule it now, but after
after that date.
I
Cannot
don't
occur before that.
Right.
Agreed. Agreed.
Okay.
Because I remember it.
So
Right next to it.
get out your calendars.
Says I have to have 6 full intervening calendar days between the publishing of the notice and the day of the hearing.
There's a DDA board meeting the 24th at 7 PM and a park board meeting the 25th at 7 PM.
Actually, it was if I can get it in, we're too late for tomorrow's paper. I don't think I can get it in Thursdays. That means it goes in Sundays, so 6 days means the meeting can't be till the 30th.
Are you gonna publish in the county press then?
Well, I would have to because nothing else would be
I was
available.
gonna say, Tri-City Times only does Wednesdays, so.
Correct.
So, yeah,
So-
it's
So the
county press or
30th.
nothing. But that's, so 22nd is out, and 23rd, the township would be having its meeting. 24th and 25th are out, right? Because of the meetings that the other boards are having, so.
Unless we schedule before.
Yeah, but I won't have it in the paper.
6 days.
So if it's in Sunday's paper, there's to be 6 days in between, which makes that
Yeah.
the 28th, 29th, or the 30th. It's going to be, there's no way the tax bills are going to be out by July 1st as required, because I can't print without the millage rates being in there.
I will not be in town after the 28th. And I think we should have most of council available for this meeting.
Be back until the 29th.
I'm available whenever.
It's illegal.
So who's available the 29th?
I can do that.
It doesn't sound like we're legally capable of doing it next week at all anyways.
So we can't get it into a Thursday paper? You don't think?
I thought there was a Thursday edition of the county press, so I won't know till
There's not.
tomorrow.
There's a Wednesday and a Sunday edition.
Say
And
something.
they're.
What about the Tri-City Times? Doesn't that officially
They
come
only have
out
a Wednesday.
Thursday?
The
Wednesday.
county press
The-
has the LA View that goes out on
Right.
Thursday.
It goes on Thursday, so I don't know if I can get it in, but I certainly will try first thing in the morning. But if you want to set two tentative options where we can let you know. In theory, if it could be in the paper next Thursday, then or this Thursday, then you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can only do it, like you can do it on the 25th and beyond.
On the 25th?
I'm available. We have park board at 7.
So if 6 is probably
Available.
a little bit too optimistic to think that we're going to accomplish our entire budget within an hour.
I'm available on Friday.
Who's available the 26th?
Friday.
It was on the 26th and the 29th.
At 7:30, or do you want to try for an earlier
Let's do
time?
earlier if we can.
What would that time be?
Everybody good at 6:30?
Anytime after 5 is fine for me, so.
6:30.
Anytime after 9 AM is good. What time, 6:30?
Yes. Let us know ASAP tomorrow, Randy, what you can get done.
Checking
I'll
right
send-
now if I can find it online when they
I'll
have to
send a
meet.
text as soon as we find out.
That said, do we have a motion to go into closed session?
Do you need the language?
I will make the motion that council enter into closed session pursuant to section 8C of the Open Meetings Act, MCL 15-268C, for strategy and negotiation session connected with the negotiation of a collective bargaining agreement.
Support.
Motion by Councilmember Schneider is stated on the record, supported by Councilmember Miller. Roll call.
Sorry. Schneider?
Aye.
Miller?
Aye.
Feldman?
Aye.
Powell?
Aye.
Stoeffler?
Aye.
And Dyke. Yes.
I'm gonna go to the bathroom.